It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of November 5th, 1999, with three notable films in particular to look at. So let's go ahead and jump on into it, and we'll start off with Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie in the thriller, The Bone Collector.
Taxi! Where are you going? Let me go! Stop the car!
On November 5th,
Tell me what you see.
Metal hooks. It's a slaughterhouse.
you will feel the fear
Yeah, they cut him up pretty bad.
with every bone in your body. Rated R. Starts Friday, November 5th.
So Denzel Washington plays a quadriplegic ex-cop who was looking forward to his assisted suicide when he got the news some sicko was abducting people in a taxi and leaving them to die in particularly sadistic ways. With time counting down between each abduction and possible death, Ryan recruits rather unwilling Amelia Donahue, played by Angelina Jolie, who's haunted by her cop father's suicide and thinking she's next, into working the crime scene to track down the killer. This is based off of a series of books centering around the main character Lincoln Rhyme by Jeffrey Deaver. And you got a lot of good talent here. Denzel Washington, which I've said it time and time again, I consider him to be one of the greatest actor working right now. Angelina Jolie, been a great actress in many of her movies too. Philip Noyes, the director of Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games and The Saints, really good movies coming out around this time period. So there was a lot of excitement for this particular film, at least for me going into it. But sad to say, it's kind of a formulaic story. I mean, it's really... Washington and Jolie are perfectly fine here. In fact, the cast overall is mostly really good. You also have Queen Latifah, Michael Rooker, Luis Guzman, Leland Orser, Bobby Cannavale, and Ed O'Neill among the cast in here. But the film itself, you can tell they're trying to launch a new franchise of films. You can tell they're trying to launch a new series of films centering around this character because they saw the success of Seven, they saw the success of Silence of the Lambs, and they wanted to have their own thing. But unfortunately, as good as the acting is, it's not enough to save the film from a pretty mediocre serial killer film. This should not be a mediocre serial killer film. You should be invested in what the hell is going on, like who's behind this, who's the culprit, and all that type of stuff. But like I said, the acting overall is what carries the film to being somewhat passable, but they've really had a hard time trying to make this character into a thing. They had this movie, and then they actually had an NBC series that came out around just before the pandemic happened, which didn't really go anywhere, unfortunately. And yeah, this character really has not had the success that he should have had, even though there is possibilities there, but it just doesn't work if you don't have a good enough script to work with here. And, you know, Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie, they're doing the best they can, but the direction here is just, the writing here is just not helping them in the process. It's a little bit of a disappointment because a serial killer film like this should not be as boring and as dull as this movie is. And again, it's a shame because there's so much potential there with the talent involved, but this is what the end result is. A film that is very underwhelming and mostly forgettable. Definitely deserved a lot more writing into the script to make it somewhat redeemable in the end. But yeah, that's The Bone Collector, so let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Chris O'Donnell and Renee Zellweger in the romantic comedy, The Bachelor.
There, but for the grace of God go I.
Jimmy Shannon is the ultimate bachelor.
Future. That's how women start, by dropping words like future in a casual conversation. Next thing you know, you're drunk at a PTA meeting.
He isn't afraid of marriage.
I love it when you act so brave. Something to keep in mind for the future.
He's terrified of it. But being with Annie changed everything.
You and I, in our relationship, have reached that place.
Until he said the wrong thing.
You win.
Was that a proposal?
I'm guessing you're not engaged.
He botched it!
Now, to inherit the family fortune, he has 24 hours to get married or lose it all.
$100 million.
But the only woman he wants
Where's Ann?
has made other plans.
She left about a half hour ago. Hot assignment in Athens.
We're toast.
Not necessarily. Find someone else.
Let's land you a trophy wife.
3 years will be over before we know it.
3.
I may have misspoken.
If you hadn't walked in here just now, I'd have forgotten you even existed. Thought of me next.
There's only one man I know who would tell a broad she's third on his list. Yes or no? How could you strike out 6 times? Excuse me, 10.
It's real easy for you guys to just sit there and tell me to walk away from the woman I love, but there's only one hand.
What about my daughter?
She's 15.
What, it's pretty late in the game for you to be Mr. Choosy.
I think that's a good place to stop right there, okay, the next scene literally is Hal Holbrook basically telling the 15-year-old, "You're off the hook," and she's still in the wedding dress and all that, which, I'm not gonna lie, that the punchline was actually worth it when it was all said and done, but still, this is not a very good film. You have Chris O'Donnell, who is seeing his single friends get married one by one. He isn't too worried about his girlfriend, played by Renee Zellweger, when she catches the bouquet at his friend's wedding, played by Artie Lang. Suddenly, his wild Mustang days are numbered. He finally decides to propose to her, but he sticks his foot in his mouth and botches the proposal, which, really, I don't understand how you can botch that. But, bad choice of words, maybe, but the way the trailer put it out there, I'm getting off topic here, but being insulted by the defeatist proposal, Anne leaves town on an assignment. After she's gone, he finds out that his recently deceased granddad, played by Sir Peter Ustinov, will stipulate that he gets nothing of a multi-million-dollar fortune unless he's married by 6:05 on his 30th birthday, which is tomorrow. And you could pretty much see where this movie kind of falls apart. There's possibilities for a good concept here, a good storyline, but this goes for the really bad jokes that you think of, almost kind of offensively bad jokes at times. But the movie really does not work. It's not very funny. I think Chris O'Donnell was not the right person to be cast in this. I think this was kind of his last chance to still hold on to any kind of relevancy as a leading actor after Batman and Robin kind of killed that buzz. But he did good. He later rejuvenated his career a little bit thanks to NCIS LA, but at the same time, the movie just isn't funny. There's nothing about this movie that's funny or intriguing or interesting, and just like I said before, it feels kind of offensive at times to women. Like not quite as bad as what the actual Bachelor TV shows does when it comes to making women look offensively bad. But I've gone on topic on that for a number of times now. All I gotta say is, Dolphin Girl. Look up that picture from The Bachelor, and then you'll see everything I'm talking about. They tried to make that look sane, and like something that is so romantic, when in reality, that'd be the creepiest thing ever. But I digress. As far as the film goes, not very good. It's a film that I think, with a right writer, with a right director, not just some Joe Schmo off the street, because this director and this writer, I've never heard of them before. I don't think they've ever done anything of noteworthiness since then. But the whole concept overall is just really, really stupid and poorly executed. If it had a better script, they could make this work, and they just can't. And also, it also would help if your chemistry works too, but chemistry doesn't work here either, and it's just not funny. It's just not an endurable film whatsoever. It's a film that just really does not feel like a film that really should be this bad. There should be at least some potential to it. There's a great cast involved here. O'Donnell, Zellweger, Hal Holbrook, James Cromwell, Artie Lang, Ed Asner, Marley Shelton, Peter Ustinov, Mariah Carey's in this movie. You expect so much more with the people involved in this cast, but this is the end result of a very poorly mismanaged comedy that feels very offensive at times to women and how they look at marriage and all that. But this is not a very good film. It's a really, really bad movie. Avoid this one like the plague. So let's try to end this on a more positive note. Michael Mann, he's always delivering some good stuff here. Does he deliver with The Insider? Let's take a look.
I have to say, that threatens these people.
Well, it isn't cigarettes are bad for you. He's only the key witness in the biggest health reform issue in U.S. history.
He met an insider who was ready to reveal what no one else could tell.
I was told, don't talk.
Al Pacino,
The more truth he tells, the worse it gets.
Russell Crowe,
I told the truth. It's not the point whether you tell the truth or not.
The Insider, a Michael Mann film, rated R. Starts Friday, November 5th.
So the story of The Insider, this is based off of a Vanity Fair article called The Man Who Knew Too Much, and it's a fictionalized account of a true story based on also on a 60-minute segment about Jeffrey Wingman, who's a whistleblower in the tobacco industry, covering his and CBS producer Lowell Bergman's struggles as they defend his testimony against efforts to discredit and suppress it by CBS and Wingman's former employee. Al Pacino plays Lowell Bergman. Russell Crowe plays Jeffrey Wingham. You have Christopher Plummer, who plays Mike Wallace. You have Diana Verona, Philip Baker Hall, Debbie Mazar, Lindsay Krause, Hallie Kate Eisenberg, Stephen Tolarowski, Bruce McGill, Colin Fiore, Gina Gershon, Michael Gambon, Rip Torn, Cliff Curtis. Phenomenal cast in this film. The movie was really good. It's definitely one of Michael Mann's most underrated movies. I liked it, and it kind of introduced everybody to what Russell Crowe would show in the years after this with Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. And Al Pacino, it's Al Pacino doing what Al Pacino does best. But unfortunately, the film was not a big hit. In fact, it bombed pretty hard at the box office. I think because they opened it wide. I think they should have just let the buzz on this build with a limited release and then let the people come in around Thanksgiving or around that time when there's no other big movies coming out around that time for adults. But they put this out there in a wide release, and it kind of crashed and burned. It's a $68 to $90 million film, and it only made $60 million back in the long run. So, yeah, it was not seen as a big hit whatsoever, but it is a really good film. It's Michael Mann. Michael Mann does not usually make a ton of terrible movies. He makes very few bad films. I think the worst film he's ever made as a filmmaker was probably Black Hat with Chris Hemsworth, and even then, it was trying, but it just didn't. It was just way too slow and boring to really keep you invested in what was going on. But this is another one of those films that is very underrated. Should definitely be given another shot. If you're looking for some good underrated Al Pacino or Russell Crowe work, I'd say definitely check out The Insider. You will be very impressed with what Michael Mann does with this. Very good underrated film. Definitely check it out. So with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll have 5 movies to look at next time. A lot of notable films, including Pokemon, the first movie, which was one of the big hits of the weekend, the biggest hit of the weekend. Kevin Smith's newest film, Dogma. We also have Milla Jovovich in The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc, Anywhere But Here, and also Light It Up. So 5 films to look at next time. We'll dump into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the plays on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.